Okay, so I hope everyone is well. I've been really good, been busy, been doing a lot of travel. I was in Pittsburgh for a while, and then I was in Virginia and DC. And while I was in DC, I had some pretty interesting conversations with some folks about the dating scene and the Match.com and some of the ways that people are trying to find the love of their life or a reasonable partner by, I guess, setting up a profile and then quotes looking for a match. And I think there really is something about compatibility, and I don't think we want to deny that. Certain people do seem to be more compatible with certain kinds of people than other people, and it is important to find someone who you share interests and goals and values and all these kinds of things. And I don't want to deny any of that. There's another part of me though that wants to say there's a really odd kind of orientation. I think it's a consumer orientation. It's as if people are just products to be, evaluated and poked and prodded and put on the scale and weighed and asked how much it's going to cost, and then they either decide they want in or they don't. It's as if people treat each other as if they're just objects, as if they're things that have qualities that are set, they're given, they're they're measurable and accessible within checkboxes and things like this, and they're not subject to change and variation, to growth. I think if you say to someone, well, are you a vegetarian or not, or what are your religious beliefs, what are your political beliefs, and we say, well, I want someone who shares those. And it may be that, yes, that's useful, but another part may be that we're really shutting down the possibility of growth and development, of self becoming, that there could be something about the way that we grow in relationship with others and become who we're becoming by way of the relationship, rather than assuming that the people are complete unto themselves before the relationship, and then they're just, again, sort of selecting what will be an external appendage or an attachment to an already pre-given person. I think of the movie Shrek and Donkey. Their relationship. Do they become friends? Yes. Now, would Shrek have selected Donkey as his ideal kind of friend? Well, I think we all get the movie and we say no. And yet, despite seeing these kinds of movies, again, they're intelligible to millions of people. I think we kind of struggle with it. Maybe that's partly why YouTube is interesting. YouTube does give some possibility for, I guess, trying to, in Alfred Schitz's term, grow older with people to whom you wouldn't otherwise, even have any connection, or who you wouldn't come into contact with. And people may have very different values and beliefs. And I do think this is why this cognitive dissonance stuff, from the theory of everything, I think there is a lot of cognitive dissonance that's riding all the way through all of this. And maybe that's the direction that I want to go and talk a little bit more about that, which is, I think the whole Match.com and the looking for someone who suits one and is a good fit and shares beliefs, as much as all of that may be part of what's going on, it's maybe something more insidious or something more seductive that's happening, which is people are trying to manage. I think this is partly it, okay? That people are partly, it's like they're trying to manage some of the ambiguity and the ineradicable mystery of who they are. Now, I've talked a lot about mystery, and I know that some people out there don't like that. That's really funny. They get all riled whenever they hear the mystery talk. I think they want to believe that the world doesn't have any mystery. They really need to look at some of Roger Penrose's stuff and on some of the problems of not negentropy, as I've used the term from Schrodinger, and how that relates to information systems, but the question of low entropy and low entropy states, not only the accumulated low entropy in fossil fuels, but the kind of low entropy states that get introduced through photosynthesis. And when you watch the way that plants are able to, I guess, introduce low entropy states in physical systems that enable a change in entropy. And again, entropy is such an interesting concept. It's not a word that refers to a thing. It's a word that refers to a concept for a very complex set of relation states that are measurable in some way only relation to other relation states, and there's so much variance that goes on in calculating rates of entropy and ultimate distribution of entropic flow throughout very complex open systems. It is an odd. The more that we learn about it, I think it's more subject to, again, mystery. And I know, again, people don't like that word, but here would be for the people who don't like that word. Maybe I'll go back to the Match.com stuff and say I think there is a mystery which many people, I think all of us, right, we're struggling with and we're hiding from, and it's the mystery of, again, being mysterious to ourselves, not only in the sense of, that our beliefs could change, our values could change, our self-understanding could change, and we could become atheists, we could suddenly become theists, we could move from Democrat to Republican or vice versa. There's all of that. But it's even more that we never exactly know how other people see us. See, it's this sense of not knowing how other people see us and of wanting to be seen in a certain way, of wanting to be valued, of wanting to be esteemed. I think this is what allows for a kind of, what do you want to call it, roundabout, backhanded, it's kind of a fooling oneself, but one presumes to be in the position of the self-assured shopper out there with the checklist trying to look for the other, but what one it maybe is really doing in like a Hegelian kind of dialectic, they're trying to find that other for whom they can be the other they want to be. And it's partly about managing identity, again, within the relationship, rather than, I guess, not only accepting the ongoing, I guess, dialogic constitution of identity, the ongoing event of becoming who we are, but it's also, again, it's an odd kind of hiding from the extent to which we just always remain some way a mystery to ourselves when we try to understand how other people see us. Now, we could try to imagine that we have these features that everyone would agree upon, but those, in terms of how they're valued, how they're esteemed, I mean, Sartre's a great example of you never know if you have a beautiful or an ugly face. I mean, this is so true, and it's partly the way that we hide from this is to surround ourselves with people who we guess would see us in one way or another. That is, the more the people who we surround ourselves with have really different values, have very different goals and beliefs, and come from different backgrounds, they potentially see us very differently. And I wonder to what extent that isn't part of the, I guess, the kind of vulnerability management that's going on as people are engaged in this sort of dot, or Match.com, or this looking for a partner through a computer dating service. Again, I'm not trying to suggest that there's anything wrong with it. I don't think there's a problem with it. But I think the deeper question is, are the best, deepest kind of relations, are they discovered? Now, there is a sense, I mean, I've had some friends where we have become friends like instantly. Like the second we met, we knew we would be friends, and we grew and developed. But there are other people who it was the time that I spent with those people that it's not literally that, maybe I became a different person, but different aspects of me that I had never really registered before, they became more salient, and they grew and took on a new form, or a new uh, kind of dominance, or I guess they part of our personality comes out. And I think there's something in there about being willing to risk who we become after the relationship or by way of the relationship, rather than only wanting someone who already fits within the precast mold that I would have anticipated. So anyway, those are some thoughts. Hope everyone is well. Take care. Bye bye.